Hi, my name is Chris Warfick and this is the Warfick Anxiety Podcast, helping you reduce anxiety and live better every day. I'm really excited that you can join me and together we can learn to enjoy life more. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast. Today we are talking about what to do if cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, does not work. I've got some ideas. In fact, I've got 6 suggestions for you. So stay tuned and we'll go through them and hopefully we'll give you some great ideas of things you can do. I always dance along to the intro music. I like to think everyone at home listening is doing that as well. I accept that may not be the case, but hopefully you've had a little dance and now you're thinking, well, I tried CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, and it didn't work for me. And that's like the main thing. That's the evidence-based thing, right? So I'm kind of wondering what I do now. Well, I've got some suggestions. In fact, I've got 6 suggestions for you of other things to try if CBT doesn't work. Let's just dive into the list and go through them. So the first one is counselling. Now, CBT has become incredibly popular with healthcare providers because it's relatively quick. Like, you can train a CBT therapist up in about a year, and they can deliver you like a 12-week session, and it's quite fast. And when it works. That's a relatively small timescale, right? That's comparable to, say, medication. And counselling is less popular because, first of all, you need to train a counsellor for years to be a really good counsellor, and it can take a long time to build up a relationship with a therapist. You know, it could take a year, which is expensive for whoever is paying for it. If they're, like here in the UK, if the NHS was paying for it, that would be a lot of money for them to spend. If you're paying for it privately, obviously that's a lot of money for you to spend. So counselling has become less popular because it's expensive, but it really is effective. It really works. There's a lot of evidence to suggest it is just as bang on as CBT. It just takes longer because you have to build up a relationship with the counsellor in a way that you don't have to do with CBT. So if you can get counselling, if you've got the money or you can get it provided for you, it's a great option. It's another thing similar to CBT but more involved, more talking. Some people really enjoy it. It can be a great way to tackle your anxiety. Number 2 thing to try is CBT again. And the reason I suggest this is because you don't always get the most out of CBT the first time you do it. So I've had 3 rounds of CBT now, and I found that every time I did it, I got more out of it. And, you know, the first time you go, you don't know what's going on, right? You don't understand that there's going to be homework. You're not always emotionally prepared for the fact that you're going to have to face your anxiety and really put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And so a lot of the time, the kind of first round is almost a test where you're not going to get any results. But actually, once you understand CBT, then the second time works a lot better. And that's an experience that quite a few people have had. So if CBT hasn't worked for you, it's worth asking yourself, well, did I really go in and give it my all? Did you do the homework? That's the tough question to ask yourself, right? Did you really try? Did you really do the homework? And if you didn't, I want to stress that it's not your fault. It's not because you're lazy or because you didn't really give it a go because you could have, but you just couldn't be bothered. It's because it's really hard. And if you're not emotionally prepared for it, then of course we're going to freak out when we get this new thing and we get all this homework, and it's not your fault that you weren't prepared for it. That's one of the failings of a lot of the way CBT is provided. But if you find yourself in that situation, then it's worth giving CBT another go now that you understand what it's about and understand there will be homework, there will be tackling of your anxiety and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. So even if you've had a bad experience, I still recommend giving CBT a second try. Number 3 is acceptance. Now, this doesn't mean giving up. It definitely does not mean that. But it does mean accepting that anxiety is part of who we are. As I always say, it's a normal human emotion. Everyone experiences anxiety to some degree. If we didn't, then we'd never bother to brake when we were in the car, because we wouldn't be scared of anything. We really need anxiety to keep us safe. So we're going to have a certain level of it, and a lot of the time we make our anxiety worse by beating ourselves up about the fact that we have anxiety. And it becomes this incredibly destructive pattern in which we're unable to do something because of our anxiety, or we're unable to achieve to the level we want to achieve. And then we spend days or weeks just pounding ourselves and making it worse by talking about what a failure we are to ourselves and how a normal person could do this. And this is all, first of all, it's all nonsense, because we're normal, everyone's normal, everyone has anxiety. But also it's just incredibly unproductive to go into this cycle of self-destruction. So a much more positive way to look at it is to be kind to yourself. And in fact, there's a whole therapy based on this called ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. And that's accepting that you're going to have these feelings of anxiety, but you're not going to let it stop you leading the life you want to lead. And once you start doing this, and once you start feeling better, actually you achieve more than you can when you're in the self-destructive state. So acceptance can be really good at increasing what you can achieve while reducing that kind of mental barrage that you give yourself. Number 4 is mindfulness. Some people love mindfulness. A lot of people don't like mindfulness, again, with a lot of anxiety treatment, so there's a lot of mixed emotion about it. What kind of mindfulness works for you might vary as well. The evidence in general is great, and I always recommend Ruby Wax's book, which I have temporarily forgotten the name. Sane New World, that's the book, Sane New World, because she has a wonderful wrap-up of all the evidence for mindfulness-based therapies for anxiety and depression. Or it's also in my book, Technical Anxiety. Obviously, I have to plug my own book. Both great resources for the evidence for mindfulness. There's loads of it. It's something you have to stick with. It feels really weird at first. And there's kind of 2 ways to approach it. I think one is the kind of mindfulness meditation where you sit down with the guided audio or the Headspace app or whatever, and you practice mindfulness deliberately for 15 minutes. That absolutely is going to feel weird, and it'll feel weird for a while. Like, you can do it every day for months and it still feels weird. And some people find that eventually it just clicks for them and they're like, oh yes, this works. Other people maybe don't have that click, but you're not going to know that straight away, so you have to really give it a go. And then the other kind of mindfulness, which I kind of like more, is just trying to be mindful in everyday life. So in one of the previous podcasts, I was talking about mindful eating and how you can enjoy chocolate more by mindfully eating, because so often we just scram the entire chocolate bar down and we don't even realise, we're just trying to feed our sugar fix. We don't experience it. And there's so much in life where if we can ground ourselves in the present moment and actually enjoy what we're doing, then we can make ourselves a lot happier and reduce our worrying and stop our minds wandering to the future where all the worrying happens. Both of those mindful approaches are worth giving a go and seeing what works for you. suggestion number 5 is medication. Again, divided opinion, but there's a lot of good evidence that medication can work. I guess if you're okay with medication, then I'm not really pitching this to you because you're already kind of sold and you already go try it. So I'm going to deliberately talk to the people who are maybe not so pro medication, and I would totally say give it a go, because if it can make you feel better than you're feeling now, then that's a good thing, right? And it's not like you're committing to a life on medication. You can try it, you can see what happens, you can come off it. It's not a problem like you can't just come off it straight away, but you can, speak to your doctor and say, I just don't want to be on this medication, let's phase it out. And that's totally fine, you're in control. But if it does work for you, then you're going to feel better, and that's great, right? And maybe it's the case that you try the medication for a bit and that allows you to do things like go back to other forms of therapy or make other changes in your life that reduce your anxiety, and it's kind of a bridging to full treatment. Or maybe it's a longer term thing as well and you just find it provides a lot of benefit. Whichever, then it's worth giving a go, right? The doctors prescribe these things because they think that the benefits it brings is better than the side effects, and there will be some side effects, but you're getting more of a benefit there, right? So I think it's worth giving a go. Finally, suggestion 5 is lifestyle, and I'm quite big on using lifestyle to manage anxiety. I think it's really good because it's a fun thing to do, right? It's not like going to therapy is emotionally difficult, right? You've got to go to the therapist's office and be uncomfortable for an hour every week. Lifestyle can be uncomfortable, obviously, when you're out exercising and not eating at McDonald's every day, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that equal up there with all the other routes for sorting out anxiety, things like exercise, diet, sleep, relaxation, family, relationships, all this stuff massively helps, and I talk all about this in like the last third of Technical Anxiety. That there's so much evidence now to suggest that these things can produce amazing results in the long term. Because one of the problems with, say, therapy is that therapy can be incredibly effective, but you might find you need a top-up. And so really what we want is something that we can just take on and continue for our entire lives. And perhaps doing a lot of therapy is one way we could tackle that. But also if we can engineer our lives to be more anxiety-friendly and make lifestyle changes that can last a lifetime if we set them up properly as habits, then that can do a lot of benefit for anxiety as well. And I wouldn't say it's an easy thing because it's committing to forever, basically, a whole life of living a bit cleaner, but the benefits that come with that are equal as well. So that's my 6 suggestions for if you tried CBT and you haven't got the results you want. Consider 1, counselling; 2, giving CBT a second chance; 3, acceptance, being a bit kinder to yourself; 4, mindfulness, taking a mindful approach to life, maybe doing some mindful meditation; 5, medication; and 6, using positive lifestyle changes which are shown to reduce your anxiety. Pick one of them, pick any of them. If that doesn't work, just keep trying things, because a lot of controlling anxiety and reducing it is trial and error. So give it a go, see how you get on. Give it a fair trial, and even if it doesn't work for you, there are more things you can do. So just keep on going.